Hello dear students, welcome to the online classes on House of English with me Raksha Soni, PGT English. I am going to take up the second poem of Flamingo, an elementary school classroom in a slum by Stephen Spender. In this video, I will introduce you with the poem. We'll discuss about the poet and the first stanza of the poem. The poem Elementary School Classroom in a Slum touches on the theme of social injustice and class inequality. The poet questions the value of education in a slum. Using vivid pictures and apt description, Stephen Spender brings out the plight of these children. Even though he paints a grim picture of the slum children, he doesn't ends the poem on a sad note. Rather, he is hopeful that one day this situation will change, and with the help of governor, educator and privileged people of the society, these children's life will change forever. These privileged people will help the deprived children to have an easy access to the opportunities and will help them to introduce themselves in the mainstream and also help them to assimilate themselves. A little information about the poet, his line of thought and his philosophy will help you understand the poem better. Sir Stephen Harold Spender, an English poet, novelist, essayist, translator and literary critic, was born in England and was educated at the University of Oxford. His works are filled with images of modern industrial world and brings out the sufferings of people. His work also concentrates on social injustice and class struggle. Being a person with inclination towards communist ideology, he demands equal rights for everyone. Now let us read the text of the poem. An elementary school classroom in a slum by Stephen Spender. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. The tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted unlucky heir of twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel game in tree room other than this. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, riding all cities, belled, flowery, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lit sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. Surely, Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun, and love tempting them to steal, for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless night. On their slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mented glass like bottle bits on stone. All of their time and space are foggy slum, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs, break, oh break, open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books
their white and green leaves open. History theirs, whose language is the sun.
In the first stanza, the poet brings the picture of the slum classroom. He describes four children to show the various problems that these children have to face. The first two lines of the stanza, where he describes the health condition, the look of these children, gives us a clear image that how neglected these children are. The first two lines says, far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. It means that these children are undernourished. They are far, far from being energetic. They are far from being good looking. They are malnourished. They are undernourished, and their hair is falling over their head like rootless weeds. Now here he has used a simile to show that these hair are lifeless. There is a double effect here in the simile that he has used, like rootless weeds. He means to say that these children are neglected by the society just as we neglect the weeds out of the crop. He also says that due to malnutrition, these children are dull, these children are very pale, and looking at the overall condition of these children, we can imagine how they are uncared for. Their parents do not have enough time to send them to school neat and tidy. In the next few lines, he takes the reference of four children to describe the various problems that these children have to face. The first image is of a tall girl. The tall girl with her way down head. She must be sad, she must be depressed, or she must be disinterested in the class. It may be a mixture of all these feelings. She may be feeling that since she is tall or she is over age, she is not acceptable or accepted in the class. The next is the image of a very thin boy. The poet used a metaphor to describe the physical status of the boy. He says that the boy is as thin as a paper, with rat's eyes. This clearly indicates how these children are suffering from hunger and starvation. His eyes are defensive and scared. Rather than being interested in the classroom activities, he is more interested in looking for food. For food is more important than education for him at this moment. The next is an image of a stunted boy. He has been called unlucky heir by the poet. Heir means a person who inherits something from the forefathers. This little boy has been called unlucky because he has inherited a genetic disorder of twisted bones from his father. He is actually repeating the father's disease. The poet uses a poetic device pun on the word reciting because the little boy is not only reciting his lessons in the class but also repeating his father's disease. This picture shows the lack of health facilities in the slum areas. Towards the end of the stanza, the poet brings the image of the fourth boy. He is a sweet and young little boy who sits at the end of the dimly lit classroom. He is as unattended as the others in the classroom. He is in his own dreamy world. Rather than paying attention in the classroom activities, he is more interested in the squirrel games in the outside world. He is more interested in activities like the squirrel moving in and out of the tree rooms. He absents himself mentally from the classroom activity. Thus, in the first stanza, the poet brings images of the slum children to help us understand the sufferings of these poor children. He wants to show that how these children are sad and depressed. These children are overburdened. He wants us to see that these children are hunger stricken. Rather than being interested in studies or in classroom activities, they are more interested in filling their stomach. They are more interested in satisfying their hunger. He also shows that how these children are deprived of health facilities. They lack nutrition, resulting that most of them suffer from stunted growth. The last boy that he picturizes, though has some ray of hope that he is in a dreamy world, but since he is too sweet and too young, too innocent, he could not understand the problems that he might suffer from when he grows up in the slum. And so, with all these vivid pictures, the poet wants to convey to the readers the problems that these slum children face in their childhood.